A great conductor once commented that it was very easy always to fill the first violin position, but very hard to fill the second violin position, because everybody always wants the prominent spot. They always want to be out front and up front. And that's something perhaps that we learn from an early age, is to try to make sure that, we are a leader, that we are seen. But in the particular area of music, if there was no second violin, if nobody had ever wanted to sit in that chair, then there would not be the beauty of harmony in the music. So it all goes together and it fits together. Once from the time that we are always very young, everybody pushes us always to be the leader. And yes, it's always to be our best, but not necessarily to be the best. We are called to be the best for the world and not to be the best in the world. And so as leaders, we have to be able to make sure, and as people, that we know when it's proper to take charge and lead, and when it is proper to be able to follow. I heard recently that being a commentary on kind of government and other organizations in general, that the problem today is not that we are producing people who can and are able to lead. One of the problems that we face today is that we don't have enough people that can and have learned how to follow. It's okay to be a follower. It is okay, as Jesus says in our gospel today, to realize that we're to be behind him, that we have to be able to be supportive. Yes, we come up with our own ideas. We are able to be sometimes put into that position of leadership, but there's also a great humility involved in being able to realize that we can be a follower. And maybe that's in certain situations where our place is. And when it comes to the Lord, certainly it's the fact that we follow him. Jesus is not behind us. You see, if everyone is first, that means that God is last. Comes to play certainly when we think about our priorities, comes to play in the way in which we make our moral decisions. We have to remember that it's God who ultimately is in charge. He tries to address that in the scripture today in the gospel when he has a group of disciples, of apostles, that they all want to be first. And it's probably understandable. You see, they began following Jesus because they were seeing great things, because they were invited, because they were able to realize this beautiful momentum that was occurring. And they were amazed. They were in awe of all of the glorious things that were happening. So when Jesus says in the gospel, or he said to them this, gave them this prediction of his passion, death, and resurrection, they didn't think it would end that way. They thought he'd be a king. They thought that he would be in charge of the whole world. They just saw this great potential, that the thought of him suffering in some way, that was inconceivable. But what they did not realize was he was a man who was born in a manger being a symbol of powerlessness. So it's rather ironic that he ended his life, that his life on this earth came to a close on a cross, which because of what he did there is now seen as a great symbol of power, and how we follow the beauty of the cross in our belief and in our hope as well. And so Jesus really has to tell them that it's okay, as part of the team, we have to know how to take instructions. As part of the group, we have to know, at certain times someone's in charge, and it's not always going to be you. And it was he who was the one who was in charge. He uses the example of a little child, because children have that great innocence. Children have that ability to realize that they have a lot of learning left to do. And perhaps that's one of the reasons why Jesus pointed out the child, because a child is comfortable with what they do not know. A child is comfortable with what they do not know. Sometimes adults are insecure because they have to prove all that they do know. So by taking the child and by saying, you all need to be a little bit more like the child because you have a lot to learn. It was a lesson in humility. It really is a lesson for them in being able to say, we have a lot still yet where our lives can be touched by the grace of God, by the manner in which he's going to teach us, and by the way in which we are going to live our lives. And you see, when we as a society, when organizations, when community organizations, when various types of groups get together, even in family life, if everybody in the family were in charge, well, you have chaos. Unfortunately, that happens in some homes, and it also leads to the demise of the family because no one has a great respect for each other. It's very sad. It's a matter of having that respect, being able to know when it is our place to take charge, when it is our place to be a follower. And when that happens, there can be great peace, and in a beautiful way, can be great harmony.